Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much. Have you ever felt like just when you think life is under control, it throws you a curveball? What if the discomfort you're avoiding is the very thing shaping your greatest strength? Could it be that every setback is part of a divine curriculum, teaching you more than success ever could? Life is a journey of constant learning, and the truth is, none of us truly have it all figured out. That's not a flaw, it's part of the design. The very moment you think you've mastered it all, life steps in and reminds you otherwise. It humbles you. But here's where the real transformation begins. Not by avoiding those humbling moments, but by embracing them as opportunities for growth. Every wrong turn, every misstep, every unexpected detour, you didn't stumble by accident. These moments are lessons, part of what I like to call the curriculum of the school of life. The more you learn, the more resilient and prepared you become. It's never been about reaching perfection. It's always been about making progress. Think about it. The most successful people in the world aren't those who've never failed. They're the ones who kept learning. They're the ones who asked, what can I learn from this? Instead of, why is this happening to me? That shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly, problems don't look like dead ends anymore. They start to look like stepping stones. And that is a powerful mindset. Because when you see every experience as useful, nothing is wasted. Every challenge becomes a tool in your personal toolbox, preparing you for what's next. I used to believe that once I reached a certain level of success or wisdom, the challenges would simply fade away. But I've learned life isn't a fixed destination. It's a living, breathing process of becoming. You don't arrive at peace and just stay there. You don't reach clarity and never question things again. You must keep working, keep learning, keep growing. The moment you stop, life will remind you, sometimes gently, sometimes abruptly, that you still have more to learn. And often, those reminders don't show up during easy seasons. Growth rarely happens in comfort. It's in the uncertain, uncomfortable, stretching moments that you meet a version of yourself you didn't know existed. It's when life pushes you out of your comfort zone that you discover strength, courage, and endurance you never tapped into before. So instead of running from discomfort, try leaning into it. Let it teach you. Whether it's a tough conversation, a complicated project, or a season of grief, growth lives in all of it. In a world that chases quick fixes and instant success, we've been conditioned to avoid struggle. But real growth? It doesn't work that way. It's not a switch you flip. It's a process. Like a seed in soil, you have to water it, nurture it, and wait. And that's where we'll go next. So just like nurturing a seed, growth in life requires patience. It might not be obvious right away, but something is always happening beneath the surface. You wait, and for a while, it seems like nothing's changing. No visible results. No milestones. But underneath it all, roots are spreading. Strength is quietly forming. And then, one day, breakthrough. That seed finally pushes through the soil. And that moment, it's not sudden. It's the result of consistent, unseen development. Personal growth works the same way. You might not see immediate results from your efforts, but every choice you make to stay curious, to persevere, to learn instead of giving up, counts. Each one is a silent victory. And no, growth doesn't always come from a book or a classroom. Some of the most powerful lessons come straight from life, from experiences, from unexpected setbacks, from the people who cross your path, the conversations that challenge you, and the moments that don't go according to plan. So be a lifelong student. Ask the deeper questions. Listen more than you speak. Surround yourself with people who stretch your thinking, not those who always agree with you, but those who help you rise. And most of all, never believe you've arrived. The moment you think there's nothing left to learn is the moment you begin to stall. And when you stop growing, you don't stay the same. you slowly begin to wither. I remember a time when I thought I had it all figured out. I was young, confident, maybe even a little overconfident. Then life hit me with a situation I couldn't control. Nothing went as planned. Every door shut. Every effort felt like it hit a wall. I had two options: let it break me or let it shape me. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Growth rarely is. But looking back now, that season of struggle was one of the greatest teachers I've ever had. It taught me resilience. It taught me patience. It taught me that persistence isn't just about trying again. It's about believing again after everything tells you to give up. You see, every problem you face contained a lesson. Every challenge is an opportunity to sharpen something in you. The lesson might not be obvious. It might not come quickly, and it definitely won't always be comfortable. But if you lean in and pay attention, you'll find it. And once you do, you don't just overcome that single obstacle. You equip yourself for the next one. Because the truth is, life isn't going to stop testing you. But when learning becomes your default response, when growth is your commitment, you don't just survive, you become stronger with every hit. That's the beauty of this journey. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stay open, humble, and willing to keep going. In the next part, let's explore why embracing failure might be the most important lesson of all. So as we've just seen, growth doesn't happen by accident. It comes through intentional effort, consistent learning, and embracing even the hardest seasons as part of the process. It's about seeing failures not as final stops, but as steps forward. It's about understanding that every time you stretch beyond what's familiar, every time you step into discomfort or face uncertainty, you're becoming a better, wiser version of yourself. So if there's one takeaway from this so far, let it be this: never stop learning. Never stop growing. Life is full of lessons, some obvious, some disguised as setbacks. But the more you commit to learning from what life hands you, the more equipped you become to handle what comes next. Because growth isn't just about adding more to your schedule or your to-do list. It's about becoming more. And when you become more, when you embrace growth with an open heart and a teachable spirit, you begin to notice something remarkable: that 93% of your problems start to feel smaller. Not because they disappear, but because you've grown larger than them. But here's the truth. While we're constantly pushing ourselves to improve, to grow, to meet expectations, life keeps pulling us in 100 different directions. Work, family, relationships, responsibilities, they all demand our energy. And often, we give it all away without ever stopping to ask one essential question: am I okay? How often do we check in with ourselves? How often do we slow down long enough to notice what we're really feeling? We're so busy caring for everything and everyone else that we neglect the one person we need to take care of most: ourselves. And when we do that, when we keep running on empty, the cost is higher than we realize. It doesn't just affect us, it affects our mood, our focus, our relationships, even the quality of our work. Taking care of yourself isn't a luxury. It's not indulgent. It's essential. It's foundational. Because you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't keep giving when there's nothing left inside of you. The reason so many of us feel burned out, anxious, and emotionally drained is because we've been conditioned to believe that pushing through is strength. But true strength? It's knowing when to stop, when to breathe, when to say, I need a break. It's recognizing that the same compassion you show others, you also deserve. And while we all know about taking care of our physical health, eating well, exercising, getting enough rest, self-care goes far deeper than that. It's mental. It's emotional. It's about making space to feel, to pause, to exist without expectation. It's about stepping away from the noise, even for a moment, and allowing your soul to catch up with your body. Because if you don't slow down by choice, life has a way of forcing you to. In the next part, we'll explore what happens when we finally give ourselves permission to rest, and why that might be the most productive thing we can do. In the last part, we talked about how self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. But what happens when we ignore that truth for too long? Eventually, your body and mind will demand the rest you've been putting off. It might come through physical exhaustion, through illness, or through that quiet but overwhelming emotional burnout, the kind that leaves you feeling like you've hit an invisible wall. And by the time that moment arrives, the cost is already high. That's why one of the most powerful and proactive forms of self-care is learning how to set boundaries. Real boundaries. Saying no when you need to. Taking back control of your time, your space, and your energy, and recognizing that you're not obligated to give them away to everyone, all the time. It's okay to decline invitations. It's okay to turn off your phone. It's okay to take a day just for yourself without explaining or apologizing. Because here's the truth. Guilt is the thief of self-care. It convinces you that choosing yourself is wrong, when in fact, it may be the most right and responsible choice you can make. When you take care of you, you show up better for everything else in your life. Self-care also means being intentional about what you allow into your physical, emotional, and mental space. That includes the people you surround yourself with, the voices you listen to, the environments you place yourself in. You need people around you who respect your boundaries, who lift you up, who energize you instead of draining you. And it's not just about relationships. It's also about what you consume, what you read, watch, listen to, and feed your body with. Every single thing you let into your world has an impact. And if you're not careful, what you consume can deplete your spirit more than you realize. We often think of self-care as something we'll get to when we have time. But the truth? You have to make time. You have to prioritize it, schedule it, protect it, like you would any other responsibility that matters. Because it does matter. Self-care isn't about escaping life. It's about strengthening yourself so you can stay present in it. Sure, it might look like bubble baths or spa days, and those things have their place, but real self-care is deeper than that. It's checking in with your own mind. It's learning to process stress in healthy, sustainable ways. It's building a toolkit for navigating life's inevitable challenges. And speaking of stress, it's everywhere, isn't it? Life won't stop offering new reasons to feel overwhelmed. But how we respond to stress is where the power lies. That's where we're headed next. Practical ways to decompress, recharge, and find peace, even when the world around you feels chaotic. So after learning how self-care helps you manage stress and protect your peace, let's take it a step deeper into the kind of care that comes from truly knowing yourself. Because stress management is just one part of the equation. The deeper, long-term transformation comes when you understand your own needs, your energy, your emotional rhythms. There's a profound kind of self-care that begins with self-awareness, with knowing what fills you up, what drains you, what brings you joy, and what leaves you feeling depleted. It's about being honest with yourself. What do you need right now? Is it space, support, rest, a hard conversation? It's learning to listen to those needs without guilt and to honor them without apology. When you know yourself, you can offer yourself what you need in the moments you need it most. You start to recognize when you're pushing too hard. You notice when your body is asking for rest. You sense when your spirit needs stillness. And most importantly, you begin giving yourself the grace to pause, the permission to pull back, not as weakness, but as wisdom. And here's the beauty of it. When you prioritize that kind of care, you don't just feel better inside. You show up better for everyone else. You become a more patient partner, a more present parent, a more grounded leader, a more empathetic friend. You gain capacity. You gain clarity. You gain more love to give because you're not pouring from a dry well anymore. You're operating from a place of wholeness. Self-care isn't selfish. It's not indulgent. It's an act of love for yourself and for the world around you. So if there's one thing you take away from this today, let it be this. You are worth the time. You are worth the energy. You are worth the love it takes to care for yourself. You deserve to be on your own priority list, not at the bottom, but at the top. You deserve rest. You deserve clarity. You deserve peace. And when you make self-care a non-negotiable part of your life, you'll be amazed at how many problems feel more manageable, more solvable, and less overwhelming. Because when your foundation is strong, you can handle almost anything life throws your way. And speaking of what life throws at us, so much of our experience is shaped by the people around us. The relationships we nurture, the conversations we have, the way we connect or disconnect. And at the center of all of that, there's one powerful skill that determines the quality of every relationship you have. Let's talk about it next. In the last section, we explored how self-care helps us become better for ourselves and for others. But even the best intentions can fall short without one vital skill: communication. So many of the challenges we face at work, at home, in friendships can often be traced back to one thing: a breakdown in communication. Misunderstandings, assumptions, unspoken expectations. And the encouraging part is, this is something we can learn, something we can get better at with intention and practice. One of the most powerful tools in communication is listening. Not just hearing the words someone is saying, but truly listening with your full attention. Most of us, if we're honest, listen with the intent to respond. We're already forming our reply while the other person is still talking. But real listening, that's different. It means quieting your own thoughts for a moment and making space for someone else's words to land. When we listen like that, without interruption, without judgment, something amazing happens. The person speaking feels seen. They feel valued. And that sense of being heard, it could transform not just a conversation, but the entire relationship. That's why the phrase "seek first to understand, then to be understood" holds so much truth. Listening without an agenda builds trust, and trust is the foundation of every strong connection. When people know they can come to you and speak freely, without fear of being shut down or misunderstood, they open up, they share more. And what grows in that space is not just dialogue, but deep connection. But communication isn't just about how well you listen. It's also about how clearly and compassionately you express yourself. Being honest about how you feel, even when it's hard, is a powerful form of courage. Vulnerability doesn't weaken a relationship. When done with care and respect, it strengthens it. When you're willing to approach difficult conversations with sincerity, clarity, and kindness, you create room for resolution. You avoid resentment and misunderstanding, and you give the other person a chance to meet you in a place of truth. And let's not forget, healthy communication also includes boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls. They're not about pushing people away. They're about clarity, about protecting your peace, honoring your limits, and teaching others how to treat you. When you communicate boundaries with calm and confidence, you set the tone for healthier, more balanced relationships. And boundaries aren't just for toxic situations. They matter in every relationship because they foster mutual respect, reduce emotional fatigue, and help you show up with authenticity and presence. So, what does it look like to actually build strong, meaningful relationships rooted in honesty, trust, and mutual care? Let's dive into that next. In the last part, we talked about how communication, through listening, expressing clearly, and setting boundaries, forms the foundation of strong relationships. But what happens when communication doesn't go as planned? One of the most important lessons I've learned is this: not every conversation will unfold the way you want it to. No matter how well you prepare, how kind your intentions are, or how carefully you speak, misunderstandings will still happen. Emotions will rise. Words might be misinterpreted. And yet, those are the moments when intentional, calm communication is needed the most. Instead of reacting out of frustration or shutting down completely, pause. Take a breath. Choose your words with care. Speak slowly. Respond, don't react. Because words have incredible power. They can uplift or they can wound. They can bring healing or cause lasting damage. And once they've been spoken, they can't be taken back. We've all had those moments where we said something we wish we could erase. Moments where we played it back in our minds and thought, why did I say that? But while we can't rewind time, we can change how we communicate moving forward. We can bring more thoughtfulness into our conversations, more patience, more empathy. We can choose to be the kind of person who listens, who seeks first to understand before being understood, and who speaks with clarity and compassion. And speaking of empathy, it's one of the most underrated yet powerful tools in any relationship. Empathy is what allows you to step into someone else's shoes. It lets you feel what they might be feeling and see the situation through their eyes, not just your own. When you lead with empathy, something shifts. You move from a mindset of me versus you to us versus the problem. That shift changes the tone. It diffuses conflict. It builds bridges instead of walls. And when problems inevitably arise, and they always will, empathy is what helps you navigate them with grace and humility. Because here's the truth. The people in your life aren't mind readers. If something's bothering you, say it. If you need help, ask for it. If you're grateful, express it. Don't assume others know what you're thinking or feeling. Clear, honest, and loving communication prevents the misunderstandings that quietly erode relationships over time. And while words are essential, communication isn't only about what you say. It's about what you do. It's about showing up, being present, letting your actions match your words. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say doesn't come from your mouth. It comes from your presence, from being there when it matters, from showing love, respect, and consistency. Not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's hard. So how do we take all of this and put it into practice in our everyday interactions with loved ones, coworkers, even strangers? That's what we'll dive into next. In the last section, we uncovered how meaningful communication builds stronger relationships and how those connections can quietly resolve many of life's biggest challenges. But there's another area that influences nearly every part of our lives: money. The truth is, life is too short to let unresolved conflicts or unspoken words linger. It's too short to carry grudges or let pride prevent healing. When we lead with love, speak with honesty, and listen with empathy, we build relationships that can weather any storm. We create bonds that lift us, bring us joy, and help us navigate life's toughest moments. So if you're looking for where to start solving 93% of your problems, look closely at your relationships. How do you communicate? How deeply do you listen? How honestly do you express your thoughts and feelings? Because when you master communication, you master connection. And when you have strong, healthy connections, life becomes not only easier, but far more meaningful. But let's shift for a moment and talk about something that's often at the center of stress, tension, and even conflict: money. Money is one of those topics that can stir up a lot of emotions. For some, it's a symbol of freedom. For others, it's a constant source of anxiety. Depending on how it's managed or mismanaged, it can either open doors or weigh you down like a burden. In fact, a large portion of life's problems can be traced back to financial stress. Arguments between partners, tension at home, sleepless nights worrying about bills or the future. Even feelings of being stuck or directionless often have roots in money worries. But here's the good news. With the right mindset and a bit of discipline, your financial situation can transform. And along with it, your sense of peace and stability. The first step is recognizing that money itself isn't good or bad. It's neutral. It's a tool. It's not the money that shapes your life. It's how you think about it, how you manage it, and how you use it. The shift begins when you move from a scarcity mindset to a stewardship mindset. A scarcity mindset is rooted in fear. It focuses on what you don't have and leads to panic, comparison, and impulsive decisions. A stewardship mindset, on the other hand, is about wisely managing what you do have. It's about making thoughtful, intentional choices that support long-term peace and growth, not just short-term gratification. One of the most practical, life-changing principles in financial wisdom is simple but powerful. Live within your means. In a culture that constantly tells us to want more, buy more, and upgrade everything, it takes real strength to say what I have is enough. And this isn't about deprivation. It's about discernment. It's about learning to prioritize what truly matters. It's about knowing the difference between what you need and what you're told you should want. So how do you begin practicing that kind of clarity and discipline when it comes to your finances? That's exactly what we'll explore in the next part. In the last section, we explored how shifting from a scarcity mindset to a stewardship mindset can change the way we manage money, and how learning to live within your means creates both financial and emotional freedom. Now let's take that further into practical habits that help build true financial stability. Let's begin with a simple but important question. Do you really need that latest gadget? Or is it just a passing desire? Can you slow down long enough to ask yourself if you're reaching for something out of need or just out of habit? Because when you learn to appreciate what you already have, when you choose contentment over constant craving, you unlock a different kind of freedom. Not just financial freedom, but emotional clarity, peace, and control. Contentment doesn't mean settling. It means choosing joy in the present rather than always chasing what's next. Another foundational tool in financial wellness is budgeting. But let's clear up a misconception. Budgeting isn't about restriction. It's about clarity. A budget is simply a plan for your money. It's telling your dollars where to go before they disappear. It's about being proactive instead of reactive. When you create a budget, you step into ownership. You begin to see the bigger picture, what matters, what aligns with your goals, and where your habits might need to shift. And if budgeting feels overwhelming, start small. For just 1 month, track your spending. Don't judge it, just observe. See where your money is going. You might be shocked to find small daily purchases or overlooked subscriptions quietly draining your resources. But awareness is the first step. Once you see those hidden leaks, you can start plugging them, and that alone can lead to powerful change. Let's talk about saving. It's one of those habits that doesn't always offer instant reward, but its long-term impact is undeniable. Saving isn't just about preparing for a rainy day. It's about building security. It gives you breathing room when life gets hard, and it allows you to seize opportunities without panic. Even if you can only save a little bit each month, do it. Don't underestimate the power of consistency. Over time, those small deposits compound, and eventually, they give you something we all long for: options. And options, financially speaking, are freedom. Now, when you're ready to take the next step, let's talk about investing. Yes, the word can sound intimidating, but at its core, investing is simply about making your money work for you. It's about taking what you already have and helping it grow over time. Whether it's investing in stocks, real estate, or even in your education and skills, the idea is to think long-term. You're not just building for today, you're building for the future, and maybe even laying the groundwork for a legacy that outlives you. And as you build that financial future, there's one more crucial principle to consider, something that affects more people than we often admit: debt. So in the next section, let's take a closer look at how debt can either be a helpful tool or a heavy burden, and what it really means to use debt wisely. In the last section, we touched on the importance of investing wisely and avoiding unnecessary financial pitfalls. Now, let's talk about one of the most common traps that can quietly sabotage financial peace: debt. Not all debt is bad. Sometimes borrowing is a necessary step, whether it's for education, buying a home, or starting a business. But the danger comes when debt is taken on without intention. When credit cards are maxed out, high-interest loans pile up, or purchases are made on impulse. These patterns can quickly turn from convenience into a burden. And once debt becomes a trap, it doesn't just affect your bank account. It impacts your mental health, your relationships, and your overall sense of freedom. If you're currently in debt, don't panic, but don't ignore it either. Make a plan. Start small. Pay it down one step at a time. And more importantly, celebrate every milestone, no matter how minor it seems. Every dollar paid off is a victory. Every step forward is progress toward freedom. But here's the thing. Financial wisdom isn't just about crunching numbers. It's about your mindset. It's about building a healthy relationship with money. One where you respect it, but don't become ruled by it. Where you use money as a tool, not as a measure of your worth. And when you manage your money well, you open up something incredibly powerful, the ability to give. Generosity becomes part of your purpose. You're not just meeting your own needs. You're in a position to make a difference in someone else's life. And there's a deep sense of fulfillment that comes from knowing you can contribute to something greater than yourself. Now, if you're in a tough financial season right now, know this: it's never too late to make a change. The first step may feel overwhelming, but it's also the most important. Maybe it's building your first budget. Maybe it's opening a savings account. Maybe it's finally reaching out for advice. Whatever that first step is, take it. You don't have to fix everything overnight. You just need to move forward consistently and intentionally. Over time, those small steps add up to lasting results. Because true financial freedom isn't about endless wealth. It's about having enough to cover your needs, to support your goals, and to live with peace of mind. It's about reducing stress and increasing options. When your finances are in order, you remove one of life's biggest sources of anxiety. You create a life where money doesn't control your choices, your values do. And that brings us to one of the most foundational truths of all. Your mind is your greatest asset. Because behind every financial decision, every goal, every habit is a thought. And your mindset, that's what drives everything. In the next part, we'll explore why mastering your mind is the starting point for mastering your life, and how your internal world shapes every outcome you'll ever experience. In the previous section, we uncovered a powerful truth. Your mindset shapes your life. Behind every decision, every reaction, every dream is a thought. And mastering your mind is the starting point for mastering everything else. But left unchecked, your thoughts can become your biggest obstacles. Doubt, fear, negativity. These aren't just emotions. They're whispers that echo in the background of your mind, subtly holding you back, clouding your vision, and shrinking your confidence. And if you're not intentional, they can become so loud that you begin to believe they're true. But here's the empowering reality. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it belongs there. You're not a passive receiver of your thoughts. You're the gatekeeper. You get to choose which thoughts you give space to and which ones you release. You're not a victim of your mind. You're the one in control. One of the most powerful tools for rewiring your mindset is gratitude. Gratitude isn't just saying thank you. It's a daily, intentional shift in perspective. It's choosing to focus on what you have rather than obsessing over what you don't. It's acknowledging the blessings in your life, even when things aren't perfect, even when life is messy. When you cultivate gratitude, something incredible happens. Your mind starts to look for the good. You begin to see the silver linings. And the more you notice the good, the more it grows. Gratitude multiplies what you appreciate. Now, that doesn't mean you deny pain or pretend challenges don't exist. Gratitude is not about ignoring hardship. It's about holding space for both the struggle and the beauty that exists side by side. Another essential skill in mastering your mindset is the ability to reframe challenges. Life will always hand us problems. That's a guarantee. But what's not guaranteed is how we interpret them. When difficulties arise, instead of immediately asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, what can this teach me? Every setback carries a seed of growth. Every obstacle has the potential to strengthen your character. And when you change the way you see your problems, you change your relationship with them. You go from being reactive to being resilient. You stop feeling like a powerless character in your own life and step into the role of author. But your mindset isn't only shaped by your thoughts. It's also shaped by the voices you allow in, the content you consume, the people you spend time with, the messages you feed your brain daily. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, whether it's toxic conversations, cynical media, or draining environments, it's only natural that your inner world will begin to reflect that. But the reverse is also true. When you intentionally surround yourself with positivity, with voices of wisdom, with people and content that uplift and challenge you to grow, your mindset starts to shift. Your thoughts become clearer. Your perspective becomes stronger. So be deliberate. Choose what you consume with care. Your mind is fertile ground. What you plant in it will grow. And speaking of growth, what happens when we shift from just thinking better to living with intentionality, aligning our actions with our deepest values? Let's explore that next. In the previous part, we explored how the content you consume and the thoughts you allow and shape your mindset. Now, let's turn inward to one of the most personal and powerful forces in your life, the way you speak to yourself. Self-talk may seem small, even harmless, but the words you say to yourself, especially in moments of stress, failure, or fear, carry weight. They plant beliefs, and those beliefs, over time, become the foundation of your identity and your actions. Think about it. When you make a mistake, do you immediately criticize yourself? Do you label yourself as a failure? Or do you pause and offer yourself grace, like you would to a friend? When you're facing a difficult situation, do you silently whisper, "I can't handle this"? Or do you remind yourself of your past resilience, your strength, and everything you've already overcome? The relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. So speak to yourself with kindness. Encourage yourself with the same care and compassion you'd offer someone you deeply love. Be your own biggest cheerleader, not your harshest critic. Another essential piece in mastering your mindset is learning to let go of what you can't control. So much of our stress, anxiety, and restlessness comes from trying to manage things that were never ours to hold. Other people's behavior, future outcomes, past mistakes. We spin our wheels trying to change what's outside of us, forgetting that the only real control we have is over our thoughts, responses, and attitude. When you start focusing on what is within your control and release the rest, you begin to find peace. You stop carrying burdens that don't belong to you. You breathe easier. You move lighter. And suddenly, you have more energy for the things that actually matter. But a healthy mindset isn't just about how you deal with others. It's also about setting boundaries with yourself. It's knowing when to push through resistance and when to rest. It's balancing motivation with mercy, discipline with self-compassion. A strong mindset doesn't mean you never feel down. It means you allow yourself to feel those emotions, but you don't live in them. You don't let them define you. You learn to manage your emotions rather than being managed by them. One of the most powerful tools for building and maintaining that strength is visualization. Visualization isn't fantasy, it's focus. It's the practice of seeing the life you want in your mind so clearly that it begins to shape your reality. When you consistently imagine your goals, feel the emotions of achieving them, and see yourself living the life you desire, something changes inside you. You start to notice opportunities. You stay motivated during setbacks. Your brain becomes trained to look for solutions instead of excuses. Visualization programs your mind to keep moving, even when the path gets tough. And when you combine visualization with, in the previous part, we explored the power of visualization, how seeing your goals clearly in your mind helps activate your motivation. But visualization without action is just imagination. Real change begins when you pair mindset with movement. Because a strong mindset alone isn't enough. It must be activated. And that happens when you take consistent steps, no matter how small, toward your goals. Every action you take, every forward motion, no matter how incremental, reinforces your belief in yourself. You build confidence by proving, through action, that you are capable. And with every step, your mindset gets stronger, more focused, more resilient, more anchored in possibility than fear. Mastering your mindset doesn't mean you'll have a perfect life. It doesn't mean challenges will disappear or that setbacks won't show up. But it does mean that when life gets messy, and it will, you'll be equipped. You'll approach difficulties with clarity. You'll respond with wisdom, not panic. You'll carry hope, even in uncertainty. You no longer feel like a passenger being tossed around by life. You'll be the one steering, with purpose, direction, and confidence. So if you're serious about transforming your life, start with your mindset. Because when you change your thoughts, you change your choices. And when your thoughts and choices align, you change your life. Once you master your mind, there's truly nothing you cannot achieve. But here's something deeper, something even more profound than success or achievement. One of the greatest life lessons is this: fulfillment doesn't come from what you get. It comes from what you give. There's a joy, a richness that can't be bought or measured. It comes from living a life of service, from using your gifts, your time, your energy, your resources to make a difference in someone else's life. And this truth transcends all boundaries, culture, background, belief systems. When you give, you receive. When you pour into others, you yourself are filled. When you live with an open heart, you create a ripple effect of love, kindness, and healing that travels further than you'll ever know. But living a life of service doesn't always mean big gestures. You don't have to travel across the world or give up everything to have an impact. Service can be quiet, simple, powerful. It can be a kind word when someone is hurting, a listening ear when a friend feels unseen, a hot meal shared with someone struggling. It's about being present. It's about noticing what others need and choosing to respond with compassion. Sometimes it's the smallest act of kindness that becomes someone else's turning point. And here's the beautiful thing. Service doesn't just change the people you help. It changes you. So how does serving others shift your perspective, your purpose, and even your emotional well-being? That's exactly where we're headed next. In the last section, we explored how living a life of service doesn't just benefit others. It transforms you. Now let's go deeper into what really happens inside you when you choose to give. When you shift your focus from your own problems to someone else's needs, something beautiful happens. You start to see the blessings already present in your own life. Instead of being weighed down by everything that's missing, your eyes open to everything you already have. And when that happens, you realize you have more to give than you thought. Serving others has a way of pulling gratitude to the surface. It breaks the grip of selfishness and entitlement, replacing them with humility, compassion, and connection. It reminds you that even in your own struggles, even in moments of uncertainty, you still have the power to be a light in someone else's darkness. There's also something incredibly freeing about living beyond yourself. When your focus shifts outward, many of your internal worries begin to quiet down. You stop obsessing over what you can't control and instead find peace in making a difference. And in giving, you discover something profound, a deeper sense of purpose. When life feels heavy, when you're feeling lost, discouraged, or unsure of what to do next, one of the most powerful things you can do is serve someone else. Because in that moment, not only do you bless them, but you also begin healing something within yourself. Your own burdens feel lighter. Your path becomes a little clearer. Your heart begins to settle. And often, service brings with it a kind of quiet perspective. When you sit with someone in pain, when you witness hardship firsthand, it doesn't invalidate your own challenges, but helps you see them differently. Your problems don't disappear, but they shrink in size compared to what someone else may be facing. It shifts you from a mindset of poor me to a place of gratitude and quiet strength. Another truth: service always finds its way back to you. You may not see it right away, and it may not come from the person you helped. But kindness has a boomerang effect. It circles back through new doors opening, through unexpected encouragement, through the quiet joy of knowing you made someone's day just a little better. And that ripple effect, it doesn't just change individuals. It changes relationships. Because when you serve alongside others, whether in your family, your workplace, or your community, something deeper is built. You form connections rooted not in convenience, but in love, trust, and shared purpose. Service creates unity. It builds bridges. It brings people together in ways that nothing else can. So what happens when service becomes not just something you do, but something you live? That's exactly where we're headed next. In the last section, we explored how service builds unity and deepens connection. Now, let's talk about what that connection truly means, especially in a world where so many people feel isolated, unseen, and alone. Sometimes just the act of showing up can be a lifeline for someone else and even for yourself. And don't think for a moment that your service has to be polished or perfect. Too often, we hold back because we believe we don't have enough to offer, or that what we do won't be good enough. But the truth is, it's not about the size of your service. It's about the sincerity of your heart. What matters most is that you give what you can when you can, and that you do it with love. Because love is the currency of service, and love, when offered genuinely, is always more than enough. You might wonder, how can living a life of service help fix your own problems? The answer lies in the shift it creates within you. When you give to others, your mindset changes. You move from a place of scarcity, focusing on what you lack, to a mindset of abundance, where your attention turns to what you can share. And in that shift, clarity arrives. Perspective widens. Solutions you couldn't see before begin to appear. Why? Because you're no longer consumed by your problems. You're engaged in purpose. When you bless others, you make space for blessings to flow back into your life. It may not happen instantly or in obvious ways, but you create an environment where hope, peace, and joy can flourish. Where life doesn't just feel lighter, it actually becomes more meaningful. Serving others also helps you stay grounded. When life gets chaotic, when responsibilities pile up and stress starts to weigh heavy, service pulls you back to what matters most. It returns you to a place of simplicity, truth, and perspective. It reminds you that your worth is not measured by what you own, your status, or your productivity, but by how you love and how you give. And most incredible part, you'll never fully know the impact of your kindness. A single kind word, a moment of your time, a helping hand. These may seem small to you, but to someone else, they may mean everything. You may never see the outcome, but the seed you plant can grow in ways you can't predict, both in someone else's life and in your own. So if you're still wondering how to fix 93% of your problems, start by serving others. Give what you can, where you can, as often as you can, because when you lift others up, you rise too. And in the act of giving, you receive more than you ever imagined. As we begin to draw this journey to a close, let's zoom out and look at life from a wider lens. Because at the end of the day, your life is a tapestry, a reflection of your choices, your habits, your mindset, and the way you choose to move through the world. And that's what we'll leave you with in our final message. In the previous part, we reflected on the power of service, how giving to others can restore perspective, bring healing, and reveal unexpected blessings. Now, let's step back and look at the full journey we've taken together. The lessons we've explored throughout this video, embracing faith, nurturing relationships, practicing discipline, managing your finances, mastering your mindset, and living a life of service, aren't just inspirational ideas. They are practical, transformative tools. When you truly live them out, they don't just make you feel better temporarily, they reshape your life from the inside out. These principles speak directly to the root of so many of life's everyday struggles. Whether it's anxiety, confusion, stress, loneliness, or fear, when you build your life around clarity, discipline, and compassion, you create a foundation that brings peace, direction, and meaning into everything you do. Life will always have its ups and downs. There will be moments of uncertainty, seasons of waiting, and days when things don't go as planned. But when your foundation is strong, when you live grounded in truth and purpose, you can face anything. You find joy, even in hardship. You discover strength, even in struggle. You hold on to hope, even when the outcome is still unclear. So take these lessons seriously. Don't just let them inspire you for a moment. Let them guide you daily. Let them become the framework through which you make choices, build habits, and create lasting change. Because when you live them out, consistently, courageously, wholeheartedly, you won't just fix 93% of your problems. You'll unlock a life of impact, of fulfillment, and of lasting joy. Wishing you strength for the journey ahead, peace in your present, and faith for what's to come. Stay well, stay inspired, and don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more powerful insights that help you grow every day. Take care and see you in the next video.